This is the second part of the organ system lecture. So in the first part, I went through the first handful of organ systems of the 11 organ systems of the human body, all which work together to make your body run. I'm going to finish up the last few now in this short lecture. So the next system is the one that you're probably the least familiar of, actually, with, I should say, and that's the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is basically a network of vessels and nodes that produce a fluid called lymph fluid, and that fluid travels through your lymph system, and really its main job is to protect you from pathogens. It also includes two organs called the thymus and the spleen. The thymus sits right in the middle of your chest, and then your spleen is down on the side of your body, on your left side abdominal area. And what the job of your lymphatic system is, essentially, is it filters your blood for pathogens. The lymph fluid is able to fight off and kill any bacterial infection or viral infection that gets in there, and also has an important job of your digestive system. It helps to remove fats from your digestive tract as well. But we won't focus on that right now. So let's just take a little look at how the lymphatic system works. Now, I'm sure you're all aware that we have blood vessels, right? And those blood vessels travel throughout our body. So let's say this is one of your blood vessels here. But one of the things that you may not have been aware of is that alongside all of your blood vessels, we also have these lymph vessels. And what those lymph vessels do is they collect the blood as the blood travels through your system. So this would be a lymph vessel here. So as blood travels through your blood vessel, just like if you were driving down the road and there was an exit, some of that blood is going to get off at that exit, and it's going to travel through the lymph system and then eventually make its way back into the blood vessel. And while it's in this lymphatic system here, there'll be some lymph nodes throughout, and they produce lymph, which is a solution of essentially it's white blood cells, and those lymphocytes, they are going to attack anything that doesn't belong. So when you're sick, those will get larger because you're producing more lymph. And then as the blood comes in, essentially it filters the blood as it travels through your blood vessels. So I just wanted to show you a little diagram of that. Why, when you go to the doctor, they'll feel right here, right? They'll look to see if you have enlarged lymph nodes. And what they're feeling for there is if they are enlarged, that lets the doctor know that you have some kind of infection your body's fighting off. So under normal circumstances, when you're not infected, those won't be enlarged because you're not producing that much lymph. But when you have an infection that occurs, those lymph nodes will start to produce more lymph fluid, which means they start to get larger, and that lymph fluid is going to travel through your lymph nodes and ideally filter your blood out and fight off any infection. So the lymphatic system is very important part of your immune system, and it helps protect your body from any kind of pathogens that would infect it. Okay, let's keep going here. The next is your digestive system. And as you can see here, your digestive system has a long list of organs and components. For example, it starts at your mouth and it ends at your anus. And it's one long tube that goes all the way through your body. So it's kind of weird to think of it that way, but that's what it is. It's a long tube that attaches from one end of your body to the other. And along that path, what happens is the food that you eat gets broken down. Here's the problem. When you eat a sandwich, that sandwich somehow has to become small enough in size to get into your cells. And that gets done in a very long process of slowly breaking it down into its components and absorbing them and then sending them to the cells to get reconfigured into things that you can use. For example, amino acids get converted into new proteins, things like that. So what composes your digestive system? It's going to be made up of your mouth and your teeth and your salivary glands. That's the first step of the process. So when you're eating food, saliva breaks down carbohydrates. There's an enzyme in there called amylase, which you may have heard of before. So if you were to take a cracker and let it sit in your mouth right now, it would start to dissolve because those simple carbs can break down from that enzyme. Once you chew your food and move it around and get it small enough, you will swallow it, and your esophagus is the tube that travels down to your stomach. Your stomach actually is not where a whole lot of digestion occurs. People think of their stomach as being where food gets digested. That is, digestion occurs there. You have peptin there, and that is an enzyme which will break down fats and it will break down food, but most of your digestion actually occurs in your intestines, your small and large intestines. So it leaves your stomach and it goes into your small intestine first. Next to your small intestine, we have our liver and our pancreas. Both of those organs are producing enzymes to break down fats. So you may have heard of bile before, right? Bile is that stuff that if you've ever been sick before, you have a really acidic taste in your mouth, that's bile actually. And bile is what digests fats. So if you don't have bile, you can't digest fats. That's also what the gallbladder, that's where the gallbladder is found. The gallbladder stores bile. So the pancreas we talked about already, it produces insulin and glucagon, but it also produces enzymes which break down fats. And then we have our small and large intestines. And finally, that ends in your colon and your rectum and your anus, which is how we get rid of it. What's the job of your digestive system? It only has one job. It's to convert food molecules into a size that they can be absorbed. Now, that might not seem like, wow, why do we have that many things to just do that one simple job? That's arguably one of the most important jobs because our cells only have one means of getting their food, and that is from your digestive system. So we have a massive amount of blood flow in our digestive area, and that is because the food has to get broken down, and then the blood picks it up and carries it to the cells where it's going to get absorbed and used for cellular processes. So that's your digestive system. And then we have our urinary system. And the urinary system is how we get rid of waste. So we build up a lot of waste in our body, specifically protein waste, nitrogen waste. And that could possibly lead to ammonia. So if you've ever heard of ammonia before, that is a form of what happens to uric acid when your body doesn't get rid of it. So if you did not get rid of urine, your blood would actually would have levels of ammonia build up, and ammonia is very deadly. That's one sign when somebody's having kidney issues. If their breath smells like ammonia, that means that they have a high level of ammonia in their blood, which is not okay. So let's just talk about that and we'll finish up with this. So the urinary system is made up of your kidneys, something called the ureters, the urinary bladder, and then the urethra is how it exits your body. And what happens with the kidneys, they have two very important jobs. For one thing, they pull waste from your blood. They get rid of excess waste. And specifically, like I said, protein waste, nitrogen waste, NH3, which is eventually going to become uric acid, which is what becomes urine. And then that's what could possibly become ammonia if we don't get rid of it. But also your kidneys are responsible for maintaining your water balance. So if your kidneys stop working correctly, you might be getting rid of too much water and you might be urinating too often. Or you might not be getting rid of enough water, and that's going to lead to too much water in your tissues, and that's when you'll see somebody who's very bloated. And that actually will dilute your tissues, and that's a problem because you need a certain amount of salts in your blood in order to and your tissues to function. So I'm just going to finish up here by just showing you very quickly a quick diagram of what that looks like. Let me erase this one. Sorry. Get rid of this. Okay, let's do a quick diagram. So basically, what goes on with your kidneys? Now, interesting about your kidneys, the only organ that we have two of that we don't really need both of them. I know we have two lungs, but we need two lungs. Your kidneys have these little tiny tubes coming off of them. They sit right in the middle of your back, probably a little higher up than you thought they were. They go to these two tubes called ureters, which go to your bladder, which stores urine, and then that leaves your body through your urethra. So essentially, blood comes in, your kidneys filter that blood and send excess waste out of the body, and then anything that is maintained, like water, stays back into the blood. You may have heard of dialysis before. If somebody has kidney failure, they need to go into a process called dialysis, in which there's a machine that does the job of the kidneys, and that person gets hooked up to the machine, and their blood travels out of their body through the machine, which acts to filter the blood, get rid of any waste, and then it gets put back into their body. So if you've ever heard of dialysis before, that is what is used for that. Okay, so those are the organ systems. Thank you very much.